gon' chop it up like sushi. Break it on down like a hoopty. In translation, bridge the gap. Communication so real, no cap. A different language for woman and man. Decode the language and you'll understand. Nah, it'll help you out. Rest assured, women have no doubt. Pillow talk, dinner talk. Give you the info to walk the walk. Now, sometimes it's a foreign language. Now know what's up, don't mistake it. This'll help you every situation. Empower yourself, it's liberating, yeah. Communication, don't need no speculation. Just get that clarification, then reconciliation. Man translation, yeah. Man translation, yeah.
Yes, I never get tired of our song. I just think our song is so dope. Hey, what's going on, y'all? It is another Sunday. Time is moving so fast. I'm trying to tell you now. Welcome to Man Translation. Oh, Dante, you still drinking that water? How much water did you buy? You love that Hawaiian water.
I got a whole refrigerator full. It's at least more than 20 of these in there.
Oh, wow. Welcome, guys. Welcome. This is Man Translation, where we bridge the gap of communication between men and women. So we can do what? Raise the standard. Lord have mercy. Raise the standard and move the culture forward. This is what we're trying to do. And so we talk about the things that nobody else wants to talk about. So today we're talking about colorism. You know, we try to just look at the whole gamut in relationships. We talk about relationships with our children. We're going to do a show on, women with their sons, which is really important in this day. We covered the mental health with men. We talked about the infidelity. We talked about, are you the main chick or the side chick? Which one are you? Are you the ride or die chick? And why so many women are dying in these relationships. But today I want to talk about colorism because it's something that hits home, to me. I'm Sky C, and this is Dante V. He is our resident communication and relationship strategist. And we come here to bring you awareness. Put something on your mind. Put something on your mind. Make you think. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times when you're in situations, you're just going through the motions and you're not thinking. We need you to think.
Just going with it.
We need you to think. How y'all like my earrings? I made these earrings myself out of some jeans. I don't know what it is. Maybe I don't think I'm going through no midlife crisis. I don't know. But I'm going through this thing where I just want to repurpose everything. Like, I don't want to throw stuff away. Especially like my clothes. I pay a lot of money for my clothes. And every year I give away all these clothes, right? So certain clothes I have is my favorite. Just like you have a favorite shoe, a favorite shirt, or something. So just think about, instead of throwing that shirt away, make some earrings out of it, or make a headband or something, or wrap it around and make a bracelet or something. But anyway, I digress. How y'all like my earrings? So anyway, we're talking about colorism. Growing up, and I tell y'all all the time, I don't talk about things that I don't know about. The main people who wanted to fight me. Who wanted to fight me growing up in the projects? Y'all know I grew up in the hood. Who wanted to fight me? The dark-skinned girls. It was always the dark-skinned girls wanted to fight me because I was light-skinned, or they called me a red bone, and I hated it. I hated being called a red bone. Like, what is that? Whose bones are red? No, I don't want to be no red bone. And I used to have to fight. They used to want to fight me, Dante. One girl, I fought 3 years in a row. Always up until I got to junior high. Then when I got to junior high, I had to fight another dark-skinned girl wanted to fight me. Like, come on, y'all. And I just remember thinking, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. We are all part of the same culture. And I found myself encouraging, darker skinned girls then. And guess what? And I'm still encouraging darker skinned women now. Let me tell y'all something. We are the most beautiful culture because we come in all shades. No other culture comes in all shades, from the lightest light to the darkest dark, and it is all beautiful. It is all beautiful. I'm always encouraging dark skinned women and letting them know, girl, you are beautiful. You are beautiful. Lupita Nyong'o, she's beautiful. Kelly Rowland, these are beautiful women.
Uh-huh.
But we have to hear a Matthew Knowles say, oh, the reason why Kelly didn't really go that far in her career and why Beyonce went further is because of the color of their skin. Come on, y'all. Let's talk about this today. We got to talk
No,
about
I
this.
definitely think that's BS. Now, I think Matthew had something to do with that.
We have been the victims of colorism and racism. Brown paper bags were used to rate skin color and ethnic groups.
Today, we are victimizing ourselves using social networks to compare skin color, which perpetuates internalized racism to show how one race is beginning to separate. Don't live off the past ignorance. Be the one who enlightens the future.
Don't live off of the past ignorance. It's ignorant for you to, when you see somebody wants to defeat you, why would you feed into that? Colorism is just another way of saying racism within your own culture.
Yep.
It's a form of division.
You got to deal with it other than that.
And we have to deal with it in relationships. There's a lot of men who will not date dark-skinned women. You got to be a lot of black men that will not date dark-skinned women. Do you understand that this is a form of self-hatred, but self-hatred that's been conditioned and passed down? How many relationships, how many men have you heard don't want to? Just recently, they were talking about Trey Songz allegedly had a party and don't want no dark-skinned women at his party. And this is not the first time they've said that about Trey Songz.
Oh, yeah, no. Uh-uh.
So how is it that... Exactly. How is it that we have to deal with this, with women, from woman to woman, and then we have to deal with it in relationships from men, and then some men only date dark-skinned women just to mistreat them.
It's backwards. Like you said, it's just a form of self-hate. They might not be able to get the light-skinned woman that they want, so they settle for the dark-skinned chick, and then they mistreat her because I don't know. I don't get it. I love women. I love women.
But that's not the majority, though. That's not.
It's not the majority. No.
It's a form. It keeps us divided.
I
don't see any difference between, because somebody is dark skinned. Okay, your skin is darker, but you're still a part of, the African American culture.
Yeah, you're still a person. You're still a person.
Yeah. Well, it's not really looked at that way. And I'm telling you, growing up, I hated being called a red bone, and I had to fight because of my complexion and because I had hair.
Oh, that's definitely a thing. I've definitely grew up seeing that as well. When girls who had hair, and to reach a certain point, it's like they would be sabotaged. Gum in the hair, you sit in class and you hear the scissors just cutting. It's like, over some hair? Just take care of what you get. But I get it, because they're children and they grow up, they possibly see their mom go through that, or if they live in the projects, there's always trauma happening in there. And when you're a certain age, elementary school age, you're really gullible. You take a lot of stuff in. You follow a lot. So for the most part, the things they see around them, they're going to emulate for their generation. So
I don't know. I always loved dark skin. I did. I've always loved dark skin. I think dark skin is beautiful. I really do. I think that it is absolutely exquisite. I do. I think it's absolutely exquisite, complexion to have. You know what I'm saying? And so I can never even imagine someone being dark skinned and then hating themselves. And you hear this, matter of fact, Lupita, she talks about how she was made to feel not beautiful pretty much a majority of her life because of her complexion. I just hate that women just feed into that narrative, that they feed into that conditioning. Even as a young person growing up, I always thought that it was just the most ridiculous thing. Like we all live around here. We can't make differences between because I'm one complexion and you're another complexion. We all, finding ourselves in the same situation, in the same circumstances. The least thing that we should be focusing on is dividing ourselves because of our complexion and because who has hair, who don't have hair. You better go get some brush and some Dixie Pete just like everybody else. You know what I mean? And so you had to really fight. You had to really fight if you were, considered light skinned. You had to fight for your life. And what was so horrible about it was they would cut your face up. These girls carry razor blades underneath their tongue with the intent of this is how much the hatred was. So this colorism thing is not something that's far fetched. I had to live with this thing growing up all the time. And so you had to really be careful that when you got into a fight that your face didn't get cut up. Because it was a real thing.
No, that's a real thing. I mean, unfortunately, I haven't had the privilege of dealing with such. I had to deal with racism, going to predominantly white school, but not necessarily colorism. I've seen it. I've never fully on experienced it now. I guess because of my complexion, because I'm on the other side of the dark side. It's like, you get a pass. Like you're not threatening black. I've literally heard people say, you cool, but you're not like me because they see me, they think I'm a robber, but you cool because you a little lighter. It's like, oh, okay. But unfortunately, it's a thing.
It is a thing, and it's a thing in the 21st century, and that's why we're having this conversation on the show, because we as a culture of people, we cannot afford to buy into that way of thinking. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I don't really think so much it comes from the people of my complexion to a darker tone. It's the dark skinned people that don't like light skinned people because it's of self hatred. But I don't know. I just feel like it's beautiful. Even the hair. I know they put hair on a grade, 4A and 4B and 3C and all that. But we have strong hair. Our hair is come out of our scalp strong and curly. You know what I'm saying? And so if you have, we have to fight with that even in the workplace. You know what I'm saying? Where
you talk the crown law.
Natural hair is such a threat to people because our hair can do something that your hair can't do. And so they literally just had to pass a law called the Crown Act because of for us being able to allow to wear our hair. I just want us to get this. I want us to understand just how powerful we are from head to toe, every shade, every color, every complexion, and every hue. I don't think we should discriminate against each other because and further divide. We already divided, but now you're going to allow and feed into that and allow us to be further divided. So let's take a minute and watch this clip that I put together because we need to really take a deep dive into this conversation.
Pretty. I think when you talk about the experiences of people of African descent in this country who have been through enslavement and been through all types of Jim Crow-ism and residential segregation, and school segregation, is that it plays out within our communities as well.
But what names I heard to describe African Americans?
Light skin, dark skin.
And then within the light, there's light bright.
Light bright.
Light, bright.
Light, bright, and almost white.
Oreo.
Monotone.
Cracker.
Monochrome. Mulatto. Octoroon. Quadroon. Septune.
Yellow.
High yellow.
High yellow.
Probably the most inflammatory that I remember being called piss colored.
Piss colored yellow.
Piss colored yellow. Actually, I thought I was dark skinned until I went down south. They called me a red bone down there. They said, oh, you red.
Red bone.
Red bone.
Red bone.
Red.
Yellow bone.
Lacquered.
Food analogies, chocolate, cocoa.
Chocolate. Chocolate. Caramel. Walnut. White chocolate. Cocoa.
They had this weird thing in school like caramel pops.
Toffee.
Coffee color is mocha. Mocha chocolate.
Cinnamon, caramel, all that.
Mahogany. Ebony. I mean, there's some really beautiful ones.
And then, of course, on the darker end of the spectrum, there's all the more derogatory terms like darky.
Darky. Darky. Blacky.
Black.
Jet black.
Blue black.
Blue black.
Blue black, tar baby.
Burnt.
Burnt.
Crispy.
Midnight black.
Boo boo black.
The black is night, the black is shit. Specifically, when you're talking about the experiences of black folks, of African Americans in this country, although there are some very kind of uniform experiences, there's all types of experiences that are dictated by color and by hue.
I think people of different skin colors definitely get treated differently.
In our society, generally, light-skinned girls are considered prettier.
Among women, there's this pecking order sometimes.
I know dark-skinned girls talk about it all the time.
I would get told, you're pretty for a dark girl.
Boys make it clear, like, I like light-skinned girls.
So I always was aware of being more dark or being on that end of the spectrum, I'll say, as not being something as desirable.
If you're lighter, that's a preferable thing.
My dark-skinned friends always have that issue where they feel like the light-skinned friends in the group got the one up on them when we go out, when it's men, looking at, the clique, like who do I want to talk to. Sometimes they feel like they're overlooked for lighter girls, and sometimes they are.
I don't discriminate, but I see a lot of light skin. They always do their thing. Seem like a lot of light skin always get cute and dress up.
The light skinned girls were always the like the cute girls, right? The cute girls that everyone was trying to holler at. It was acceptable if you were dark skinned, if you were thick.
But I definitely love my dark skinned ladies too.
Then the young brothers would be on the dark skinned, thick sisters. The darker you were, the more objectified you were as a female.
I think some of the values that people have around skin color are really crazy.
The light-skinned guy's the pretty boy. All the girls want him, but then the dudes think he's soft. The dark-skinned dude is cool with all the guys, but the girls don't really want him because they think that he's uglier the darker that he is.
People have a thing in their mind that light is more attractive.
When I meet with a woman, they just always after the light-skinned guy in the group. I approach a female, like, what's up, girl? Woo, woo. She like, who is that over there?
I have seen some ugly mofos that dark-skinned girls have drooled over just because they were light-skinned. And I'm looking like, are we looking at the same dude? He is ugly.
It used to be that, you get more play or you get a job if you were more light-skinned. But you'd also, though, if you weren't black enough, that would also work against you, too. Because sometimes people really wanted someone who's really dark-skinned. Which is their way of saying you're black, because if you're light-skinned, you're not necessarily black.
Light-skinned black men have like a stereotype of being more militant because like they're overcompensating for not being as black as a dark-skinned man.
I always say, like my men, like my coffee, which is black. There's that expression, the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. So sometimes that's like a positive thing. A person with really dark skin, they're going to be like this guy, that's a positive thing if they're dark.
There's like an urban legend that the darker you are, the bigger package you have.
When it comes to color with a light bright thing or high yellow, sometimes it gives that connotation this person's better.
She thinks she white. It's not even like a name, it's just an expression. She thinks she white.
But you get, categorized as having to be a certain way or having a certain attitude.
That must be my mentality if that's what I look like.
But I think it also depends on how they present, how they, manifest or carry themselves in the world, and that could have something to do with whatever internalized stuff they have going on, or it could have to do with the ways that color can be currency, how, whatever it is, this ranking or this meaning that's attached to how we look.
I'm thinking about my brothers, Ricardo or Richard, very dark, beautiful, smart, intelligent, much brighter than I, was told day one, you're not going to amount to anything. Look at you. You don't look clean, because of the color of the skin. He's born with that skin color. What does that have to do with his being able to be successful? And I think about how he internalized it all. And he actually spent most of his life in prison. There is something related to color that we have bought as a society across the board.
Because what I mean, a lot of what they were saying was definitely true. I definitely heard and seen those things. Especially again that whole light skin, dark skin. It's like it's a certain characteristic over here for light skin, certain characteristic over there for dark skin, and it's like everything they said was accurate. Some of that stuff is funny, not gonna lie, but accurate for the most part.
And the thing is that you, like she said, you internalize that because you're dealing with that from a young age. Because I know I had to deal with it from a young age, and a lot of times I was told, "Oh, she thinks she's white," and
Hmm.
I would have to go to my grandmother and say, because my grandmother, she was real big on teaching me how to do things the correct way. She didn't want me to be negatively influenced by the fact that I was growing up in the projects, and so
Yeah.
she was real big on, teaching me how to carry myself. But that translated to, oh, she thinks she's white. She thinks she's better than everybody. And I remember my grandmother said to me, tell them that it's not about being white, but it's about being right. It's about learning how to do things the
Hmm.
correct way. And because you know how to do things the correct way, you are really looked down upon. Matter of fact, Michelle Obama, she shares that same, sentiment growing up. Because like back in those days, you were taught to carry yourself a certain way because of what you had to deal with when you walked outside your door. You know what I'm saying? You could not assimilate to your environment or you wouldn't make it. This is as simple as
Yeah.
that. You just simply would not make it. You had to
Hmm.
be able to navigate through more than one type of environment. And a lot of times because, people are growing up in poverty, they only know how to assimilate and talk ebonics, with their friends. But my grandmother wanted me to not just be able to talk Ebonics with my friends, but be able to sit down and have a conversation at the White House with the president if need
Hmm.
be. And so she wasn't really teaching me about being white. She was teaching me diversity,
Yes, because
how to
that'll take you a long way.
a long way, a long way, and how to when you're in those rooms. Because a lot of times, what I find in our culture is that a lot of times we get around white people and totally forget who we are.
Mm.
The thing
I
is
know a
that
couple people like that. Yeah.
yes, stepping into those rooms and still maintaining yourself and still maintaining your identity, not taking down and even not trying to assimilate. You know what I'm saying? But just standing in who you are. I really think it does a disservice to us to be called black. Black is not a race, which is the reason why we can't get reparations because black is not a race until we find out and come into terms with who we are. And nobody's going to give you anything, even though it's probably owed to you. You're going to get it
Right.
anyway. They may not be the ones that's going to give it to you. Black is not a race. We need to really stop calling ourselves black because we're not black. We're not black. You know what I'm saying? And we need to also stop saying that we are African descendants of slavery. We are not African descendants of slavery. We are African descendants of royalty. If you know your history.
No, absolutely.
If you know your history, and and it all ties in together. Knowing what you laughing at, Dante? Knowing your identity, and this is what it kind of encompasses. The colorism. I didn't grow up, even though I had to fight dark skinned girls. They didn't like me. I didn't grow up, hating them. I just grew up feeling sorry for them. That you have allowed somebody to give you a narrative about who you are, because you have never even asked yourself, who are
Who
you?
are you?
You know what I'm saying? You are so much more than your complexion. You're so much more than that. It's an 11-year-old girl. Um, I thought I wrote her name down, but she was being teased in school, and
Uh,
yeah, she started a whole T-shirt business. Is doing very well. She's a beautiful little girl. She's 11 years old, and her sister, she came home crying because she didn't want to go to school anymore. And her sister conveyed to her, remember what grandma said, you're going to flex in your complexion. And she started it as a t-shirt business, flexing in your complexion. And she's doing very well. And I think that's what makes the difference. You need someone to edify you and to tell you that you are beautiful regardless of what your complexion is, because your complexion describes who you are, but it's not who you are. You know
no,
what I
you
mean?
are.
You are so much more than your outward appearance. And so when I watched that video earlier, it just made me feel sad. Like, I just feel so sad that dark skinned women buy into that bullshit. It's bullshit. Like, you are beautiful. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I have a darker complected son, and I had to make sure that my son, well, both of my sons really, but my oldest son and my oldest daughter actually, um, take complexion after their dad. And so for my oldest son, I had to like really put the hammer down, because the cops will pull him over quicker than they will pull Dante over,
Mm-hmm.
because they're two totally different complexions.
That's
And
true.
I would have to make sure that, when they were teenagers, it was tough, because I did not allow them to wear hoodies, because hoodies was out back then. They couldn't wear hoodies. They could not fit into the stereotype. No kind of way, shape, or form. Not even in the smallest Scotia. No, you can't wear earrings in your ear. You cannot fit that stereotype. You cannot fit that profiling. They didn't like it. They did not understand it. But my focus was to keep you alive, and for you not to get pulled over because you look like something other than, because it's a really small-minded person that is going to separate people. You can't go to this school because you're colored. You can't drink out of this fountain because you're
Mm-hmm.
colored. Like, I don't even understand how that was even allowed to happen in this country. Like, I don't even understand how that was even. How did they even get away with that? Is the most asinine. Now, when I don't cuss when I get to cussing. Like, really.
Oh, I know. Oh,
Because
I
it's
know.
ridiculous. What do you mean? I can't drink out of that water fountain. This is white only. Go sit down somewhere. See, I couldn't. I'd have been shot or in jail. Because
Yeah,
that's
but again, it goes
ridiculous.
down to that.
We cannot buy into it. We cannot buy into it. If we stick together, we come together. Matter of fact, I was just talking to somebody about the gas. They're putting together like a worldwide boycott of the gas. I've been saying that for a while. You got to hit them where the money is, because they're making a
Mm-hmm.
whole lot of money. They're making a whole lot of money. You got to hit them where the
Yes,
money
no.
is. But we have to participate. We gotta participate. We have to come together. That means you gotta go buy you a bike, get you a scooter. You know what I'm saying? Go get you a bike, get you a scooter. But we gotta stop that. We have to do it. The government's not gonna do it. Nobody's not gonna do it. And it starts with you assimilating that narrative that's being placed on you. Growing up watching Eyes on the Prize, you couldn't even imagine that you're literally bringing out dogs and sicking dogs on people and putting water hoses on people because you are oppressing a people that you claim is nothing and nobody. We can't keep feeding into that way of thinking.
No.
We just can't do it.
But it comes down to that mentality. Some people think that light skin, lighter way of life is more superior than dark.
No, it's not. It don't have nothing to do with being superior.
That's the thought process. That's where it goes. I mean, I will say this: when it comes down to a time of need or a time of crisis, people will put all of that aside and we'll work towards whatever common goal that we need to get to. But it's not once the goal is met, which is temporarily short lived. That's kind of it. You go back in your corner, I'm gonna go back in mine. I'm gonna go back to hating you and disliking you for no reason, and vice versa.
It's ridiculous. It's just
It
ridiculous.
is.
There's no way that you can't recognize division when you see it. You don't know that that's a form of division.
People have the attention span of a gnat. You talk about division. No.
So now the question becomes, why is colorism so widespread but not often talked about? Nobody even talks about this subject. Go ahead.
Oh, I can talk about it. It's easy because again, if you have, and I hate to bring the racism part into it, but let's talk about racism just for a slight moment.
Well, colorism is racism.
But no, I'm gonna get there. So of course you got race against race, but if I can turn the people within that race against each other, I don't have to do as much because you guys are already tearing yourself down. So no, we're not going to bring up the issue of colorism, but let's talk about racism. Let's talk about gun control. Let's talk about all the other things set forth. Again, the one thing that's consistently going to tear apart the one race that we're trying to do without or get rid of or bring down or whatever the case may be. That's why it's so often it's so widespread, but it's not talked about.
But the thing is that, and the reason why we have to talk about it and we have to keep talking about it is because it is a form of division, because it is a form of racism. But if we have to change the way that we think about it, and because that's what self-awareness is. Self-awareness is asking yourself, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way about people that are a different complexion than me? Why do I feel this way? And as you begin to ask yourself those questions, you're going to come to the conclusion that because you've been conditioned. Racism is a learned behavior. It's learned. Like, you don't have to buy into it. An ism is a philosophy. It's an ideology. It is a way of thinking. You don't have to think that way. You don't. If you have a problem with my hair texture, if you have a problem with my complexion, that's a you problem.
I think that the issue with that is we as a people, the majority of us, not all of us, if you have a problem with me, then it has to be reciprocated when it really doesn't. Whatever emotion you carry, negative, positive, whatever, I don't have to because you mad at me and now I'm mad at you. That don't make sense. So now, of course, you go back and forth, and it's like, well, how did this even get started?
Why? Because what are the standards of beauty according to colorism, and where is it learned? It's learned in the media. The standards of beauty, and I say this all the time, white women are not the standard of beauty. How are white women the standard of beauty when they're trying to tan and get BBLs and lip injections? How are they the standard of beauty? You can't be the standard of beauty trying to look like me. Now,
Nope.
Black women or African American women are now running to go get BBLs just when we needed a butt. We was born with butt. We don't need no butt. We do not need no butt.
They sure do that thing.
We naturally, and that's the thing, we naturally have. Why? Because they look at white women and other cultures as the standard for beauty because somebody told you that you wasn't beautiful. But guess what? They lied. They lied. You are beautiful. If you wasn't beautiful, why are you trying to look like me? If I'm not beautiful, why are you trying to look like me? Now, Kim Kardashian done went and took her BBL out. She took her BBL out. Khloe done took hers out. And now we are making a beeline, killing ourselves to get BBLs. We have natural butts. Natural. We don't need no BBLs. Because we're allowing another culture to tell us what the standards of beauty are. And if we really know our history, we will know that we were the most beautiful women on the planet. The planet. So we can't keep allowing somebody to tell us what the standards of beauty are.
No, again, we said it, we should abide by it. But when you're often told, because you're, at a young age, here's what you should look like, and it's, someone that doesn't represent you, doesn't look like you. I mean, it wasn't until recently Disney started putting Black princesses up there, or women of color up there. Growing up, I think in your generation,
because the more we embrace who we are, you know what I'm saying, then that makes them take a second look. Just like every movie, they don't want, African American having leading roles. You maybe get one or two, Denzel Washington, a couple other ones, whatever. But then Chadwick Boseman came and they put him as a lead, as a superhero, and then boom, broke all kinds of records. Marvel broke all kinds of records when those so-called superheroes are really people that existed in our culture. And so it's learned because that's what we're watching on TV. Oh, your hair is nappy. You need to go straighten your hair. No, I don't. I don't need to go straighten my hair. I need to keep my hair just like it is. To the point where we don't even like our own natural hair. About 3 years ago, because you a man, y'all men wear their natural hair. About three years ago, I cut all my hair off.
I remember that.
And I didn't even realize that I have been putting perms in my hair from the time that I left home all the way up into adulthood. And when I cut my hair off, I didn't really know whether it was going to grow or not. But I cut all the perm out of my hair. And when my hair started to grow, I didn't realize how much I miss my natural hair.
Yeah.
Like, I miss my natural hair. Like, it's such a freeing thing. You know what I'm saying? So just be able to wear your own hair. They try to make us think our hair won't grow. Yes, it will. It just takes a little bit longer because it's curly. It's coming out the scalp like this. Just be patient. It'll grow. Put some moisture
Not
on it.
only will it grow, it's going to surpass what you got.
Exactly. And so the standards of beauty have to change. They really have to change. We have to understand that the narrative that we've been told is not a true one. Colorism is a practice of discrimination by which those of lighter skin are treated more favorably than those of darker skin. And it's a product of racism of the United States. But it's also global. Remember when Oprah, I think she was in Paris or London, they wouldn't let her in the store?
I remember that. I've had to deal with that too. Going on car dealerships. I got money, but it don't look like I got money because why do I need to dress up because I'm gonna buy a car? And you treat me like crap, and it's like you don't know I got a check in my pocket. I can pay cash for this car. But because your perception of such is different than what it should be, that's how I'm getting treated. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
This thing is so like they have been able to ingrain this thing into us, and it's everywhere. It's in the media, jobs. In the clip she talked about how light skinned women are hired more, promoted more than dark skinned women. So it's like not so in your face in certain arenas, but it's still there. And then you still have the tokenism where they hire a darker skinned person just to meet the quota.
That's that tokenism right there. I definitely feel like I was a part of that at one point in time.
Yeah.
Because there's no way I was. I think at the 5'11", about 350, and you got me at the front desk as a receptionist. And the first thing people see, I'm the first thing that people see when you walk in the door.
Hey.
Really? No. My skill set does not say receptionist. But I'm gonna take it because
you had a job, you get a paycheck.
Right. Right. But that was about it. Nah.
And I still think that we are a subject of the paper bag test that started in the 19th and 20th century, where they utilize this, and they still do. If you're darker than a paper bag, you can't get hired. You're on your job, working your fingers to the bone, and wonder why you can't get hired because you're not of the right complexion. They're never going to come out and tell you. That's how ingrained it is in our society. It is so ingrained.
I'm gonna ask the question because I want to know your opinion. The man that worked at Burger King for 27 years, you think that's what happened to him? Because ain't no way I'm working for a corporation for 27 years and this is the highest I've ever gotten. Just a cashier or an associate, if you will. I need to be a manager, district manager, regional at some point.
I mean, I know people that worked in jobs and never wanted to get promoted. They never wanted the responsibility of being a supervisor or a manager. They never wanted the responsibility. So, maybe he didn't want that responsibility, but they do that all the time. They do that all the time. A lot of times when people retire, they get a watch. They've been in the company 40 years, 50 years, 30 years. They get a watch. If you've been there 30 years, you might get an ink pen. That happens all the time. He just so happened to work for Burger King. Burger King apparently doesn't have anything in place for perfect attendance.
But you want me to come work for you. You promised me all this stuff. We could do this and we can do that. And, this whole drive track thing. But yet I'm in here salt and fries. What?
Maybe that's all he wants to do. But see, they also look at it this way. When you take a job, you sign a contract. You sign a contract that you're going to come to work every day and that you're going to come to work and you're going to be there on time. So he fulfills his, obligation. They didn't have to give him nothing. Normally they just give you employee of the month, take your picture, put it up on the wall like America's Most Wanted.
I'm taking a box of burgers, nuggets, something with me.
I remember taking a little job when I first came here, trying to figure out what type of business I was going to start. I still haven't figured it out yet. And I took a job at Home Depot. And they wanted to take my picture. Everybody that worked there, they wanted to take your picture and put it up on the wall. I said, you're not taking my picture and putting it up on the wall. I didn't find anything that said, I'm not a fugitive from the law. I'm not running from nobody. And it was crazy because it became this kind of back and forth between me and the manager that ran that particular store. He would literally walk around with a camera trying to catch me to take my picture. And so that, and I had to have a special little meeting with him to tell him, under no uncertain terms will you get my permission to take my picture and put it up on the wall like I'm some type of America's Most Wanted fugitive, running from the law like I'm a criminal. But the only thing you need is to have a picture in my file, in
You
a
don't need any of
private,
that.
in a private. You know what I'm saying?
You
So
don't even need that. Nope, you got my driver's license. That's good enough. I
you
mean,
know,
damn, if you see me on the wall looking all crazy.
not only that, for somebody
No.
looking for me, they're like, there you go, right there. Like, nah, I'm
Nah,
good. I
nah, we
mean,
good.
I'm not running from anybody, but I'm just saying, like, some things I just want us to not feed into colorism. And I want us
No.
to embrace each other, no matter what complexion we are. That little 11-year-old girl, that girl is beautiful. She is absolutely gorgeous with a head full of beautiful hair. Beautiful. She's smart and everything. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, she's a girl boss now. She's made, she gets like 100 orders a month. Just selling that one shirt. You know what I mean? And so I want us to embrace our color no matter what color we are. Walking around feeling some type of way because somebody light skinned, feeling some type of way because somebody dark skinned, it's ridiculous. And it shows small mindedness. We
That's
gotta
exactly what it comes down to.
yeah, we gotta push this culture forward. We can't push it forward if we're infighting. And they want us to infight. Like Dante said, they want us to infight. You know what I'm saying? So it's unacceptable for you to feel like because you're dark skinned, you're less than. That's a lie. That is a lie straight from the pit of hell. Matter of fact, I should have put up the price for melanin. How much melanin is worth? You really knew how much the color in your skin is really worth. And the Caucasoids have found a way to extract the melanin from your skin. That's how valuable it is. You know what I mean? So, every part of you is valuable. Did you look it up? What it say, Dante? Because it's expensive.
It said, despite all that,
A gram.
For a gram is
A gram.
$445 a gram. $445 a gram. Melanin is worth more than gold in this era.
Yes, baby. Baby. So we gotta no more colorism amongst us.
That's
no
crazy.
More because you're light skinned, because you're dark skinned. No. And don't allow, your children, because a lot of times people make differences in their children if they have darker skinned children and
Yeah, you
different
definitely
colors.
can't do that.
Or that happens in families. That happens in families a lot. Because we don't understand the value of who we are as a people. We ain't prejudiced against nobody. I don't even really want to make it a racist issue. I just use it as a teachable moment because the Caucasoids always trying to inject into our culture some old foolishness that we don't need to be putting on our plate and eating. We really don't. We are beautiful in every shade, in every color. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's the most exotic, it's the most beautiful complexion ever. Hair in the whole 9 yards. You know what I mean? Your melanin is worth, how much is it worth again, Dante? Per gram. Melanin.
$445.
So there's no way.
I didn't know that was a thing.
It's a thing. It's a thing. Melanin is very expensive. It's valued. So that's a gram. So check this out. So if you have something and I want it, I'm gonna make you think it ain't worth nothing so you can throw it away. And that's what they're doing.
Pick it up.
And that's what they're doing to our culture. They're trying to make, darker complected women feel like they're nothing and they're nobody. They're just a throwaway, knowing how valuable they are. How valuable we are as a culture, but how valuable they are and how they covet every part of our body. From our cells. That's what this vaccine is about. Trying to change us on a genetic level, trying to change us on a cellular level, trying to change us on a molecular level because they know how valuable we are. So I want us to tell y'all today and to reflect in the mirror when we get off this broadcast how and I don't want you one thing I cannot stand. I hate when people do affirmations but don't really believe what it is they affirming.
Because they're trying to convince themselves of the stuff that they're saying as well.
Convince themselves. I want you to know.
Believe that. No, you got to believe it.
Know that you are valuable. And because you're dark skinned, it doesn't mean that you are a throwaway. If a dude don't want to deal with you because you dark skinned, he not worth dealing with anyway, of any color. Please stop allowing another culture to validate you. They are not the standard. We are for real, we are the standard. For real. So they steal all our dances, they steal our hairstyles, they steal everything from us. Well, if we ain't nobody, why you keep copying off of us then? If you say we nobody, why you keep copying? Why you want our butts? Why you want our lips? Why you want to braid your hair? Why? Tell me why. We're going to change that narrative. I'm telling you. I've been encouraging my sisters since I was in elementary school. Like Tracy Davis, I had to fight Tracy Davis. Then when I got to junior high school, I had to fight Jackie Westbrook. Jackie was dark skinned, didn't like me. But Jackie was a bully. So you're not going to bully me for something as trivial and ridiculous as the color of my skin. See, I never played that ever. You wasn't never going to make me believe anything other than about myself. Especially if my grandmother told me whatever she told me. You know what I mean? You are not going to make me feel bad and you want to fight me because of my complexion. Okay? I bit the crap out of Jackie Westbrook. She still got that scar on her face to this day. And what is it about when you beat somebody up, how they want to be your friend? I'm like, Jackie, I don't have nothing to do. You don't like me because of the color of my skin, girl. We are the same culture. Next thing you know, she was bringing me candy to school. Girl, you beautiful. Go get some Dixie Peach in the brush. You'll be all right. Your hair grow, girl. Be patient. It'll grow. You'll be all right, girl. You're beautiful too. We both beautiful. All of us are beautiful. Yes.
I don't know. That is a good question. When you, it's almost like coworkers. When you curse them out, they treat you better. I don't know what that's about. That's true. Curse their ass out.
No, I just say that when I did the flyer on the fly. It says colorism no more. No more. No more are we going to hate each other because of the color of our skin. We are not going to do it no more. Every day, I want you to tell your dark-skinned son, your dark-skinned child, that they are beautiful, and they are. And I want you to reprogram them with the right information. Don't let them grow up thinking that they're less than. You know how many dark-skinned... Before we close this show, I want to share this story about this girl in high school. Now, I'm in high school now. And ain't nobody bothering me because I done fought my way through. There was this girl. I will never forget this girl. And I would love to know where she is to this day. And I'm going to say her whole government. They would pick on this girl every day. Her name was Melissa Talley. They would pick on Melissa Talley every day. Melissa Talley, she didn't have the best clothes on. She was dark-skinned. She didn't have a whole lot of hair. But Melissa Talley was smart. So, we all would walk over the bridge, walk from 32nd and Diamond Street from Strawberry Mansion and walk over, all the way down to 23rd and Diamond. And they would literally a mob, a gang stalk, and just talk about this girl like a dog. This one particular day, I said, y'all gonna leave this girl alone. And I walked home with her. And as soon as you get to the end of the bridge, it's these beautiful brownstones in Philadelphia. It's a shame I don't know whether they tore them down, but I think some of them are historical. You ain't supposed to tear those down. These beautiful 3-story brownstones, and really with the basement like 4-story. And I had to go to the bathroom, so she let me come in the house. Do you know this girl lived in a condemned house? The house was condemned. It had no running water. It had no electricity. And she was like, the bathroom is right there. And it's like, I know you know that this bathroom don't work or whatever, but it wasn't even about the fact that she just let me use the bathroom. It was a fact that she trusted me to come into her house.
And not say nothing to nobody else about it.
And I just remember saying to her, I remember just saying to Melissa, do not listen to these people that are bullying you and saying all this stuff about you, Melissa. You just keep your head down and you keep your head in those books. I would love to know what happened to Melissa, because it seemed like after I had that talk with Melissa, she started to try to, clean herself up. She ain't had no clothes. She tried to start, clean herself up and, try to, do something with her hair and everything like that. And I think that conversation, just somebody showing her that they just cared about her, and that her complexion and where she lived and how she lived, that wasn't the issue. We have got to learn how to see each other's humanity. It is not about how much money you have in the bank, about what clothes you wear or don't wear. It's about the fact that we are human. We are human, and we need each other. And to give an encouraging word to someone can literally change their lives. And you know what? They never bothered Melissa again. They never followed her home after that day. They never bothered her again. Who are you to pass on that self-hatred because you feel terrible about yourself, because somebody made you feel less than because of your complexion? I want y'all to hear just how ridiculous that sounds. That somebody would try to make you feel inferior and tell you can't drink out of a fountain, or you can't go in a bathroom, or you can't go to a certain school. How ridiculous is that? How much pain does a person have to be to try to make another person feel like they're worthless? We just we can't do this no more. We cannot do this to each other. We can't do it. The only reason why I survived half of this stuff is because I had a grandmother who taught me and an uncle who made sure my face didn't get cut up. I had to fight because of the color of my skin. So it's not like I'm talking to you about something I don't know about. I went through this from a little girl, and I still deal with it sometimes today. But I don't feed into it. I be like, yo, sis, we ain't doing this. We're not doing this. You just as beautiful as me with your dark skinned self and your 4C hair. You just as beautiful as I am. We're not doing it. We're not doing it no more. When we don't feed into it, it takes the power from them. It is time to disarm your enemies. Why I always be telling stories and then I end up crying. I'm trying not to get emotional.
Because you coming from a place of emotion. Gotta let that out. Can't hold on to that. Gotta let that out.
I remember Melissa, you know what I'm saying? And I remember, like, I can feel people's, pain. We all living in the same place. How y'all gonna make her try to feel less than because of her complexion? You know what I'm saying? Because she's a darker skin. What that mean? So what? And I think that we need to look in the mirror and tell ourselves we're beautiful and believe it. The first time
And
we said,
not only believe it, but walk in it.
"Go ahead, Dante, close us out."
Hold on, we got a
Believe
comment.
in it, walk in it, walk in it. Wait, somebody got a comment. Hey, Miss Allen. Growing up, I had girls putting their arm. Yeah, it must. Yes. And for what? Just
Because
don't
they
buy
feel as though they can.
next to mine. Ooh, to see who was lighter, it was horrible. I didn't understand at the time. That is horrible. Yeah. Putting their arm next to her to see who was lighter.
I
We
tear all
can't.
this up.
We can't. We
All of
can't
it.
do it. We went through that as children. Now as adults and young adults, no more. We are not going to continue to treat each other this way. We're not going to do it. We are
No, we're
not
not.
going to do it. We cannot
It has
continue
to end. It has to end to some degree. Yeah, that's because at what point does it matter? You light, I'm dark. Now what? What's gonna happen now?
But we're of the same culture. Even in adoptions, they even adopt the darker skinned children last. Nobody wants the darker skinned children.
Unless you
You're,
Madonna.
you're injecting. We ain't even gonna talk about what they be doing. Ain't no telling what they doing with those children. But anyway, like them people that adopted those took them kids out of foster care and then drove them off of a cliff. Those 6 children and drove them off of a cliff, even though they had family members that were trying to get them. But they didn't feel like that they were, good enough standard of living for them to go with them, and then gave them to them 2 ladies, and they drove them kids off of a cliff. We're living in a different time. We're not living in the 60s and the 70s. We're not living in those times. We're living in a time where we do not have to feed into the narrative. We do not have to subscribe to that way of thinking.
No.
We don't. And look how ingrained it is.
It's
She
deep.
said growing up. I dealt with it growing up. She dealt with it growing up. Other people are dealing with it because this stuff is being passed down. See, this is the legacy. The legacy don't have nothing to do with money. This is the legacy. What are you teaching your children? So what? You're darker. That you darker. Look at Kenya Moore. Look how beautiful Kenya is. Kenya Moore is beautiful and got a handful of long 28-inch hair, 24-inch, how many ever inches she said it is. It don't have nothing to do with because you're dark skinned. Y'all please stop trying to make white women the standard. They're not the standard. White women are not the standard. God is the standard. Whatever standard God sets is the standard. No other human being, no other culture can set the standard for who you are supposed to be.
No.
Close us out, Dante.
Colorism is BS. Let's just put it all on the table. It's it is. It's like you're literally starting a fight between two the same culture. It's like it really is self-destruction. The mentality is destructive because here you are as an adult now, and you're trying to model after someone else who may be a lighter and or darker complexion to you, rather than you realizing who you are and what you possess as a person. Whether you light skin or dark skin, at the end of the day, you're still a person. We
And
should
our
be.
men need to not feed into that narrative because a lot of
I was getting there.
men feed into that narrative too. They
I
don't
was
want
I was I was gonna take it there because we don't help as far as what we I don't talk to no dark skinned chicks because dark skinned women have this derogatory label put on them that they're difficult to deal with or whatever the case may be because they're dark. Light skinned women, they walk around with their nose up. People are going to be people, and that doesn't matter whether or not they're light skinned or dark skinned.
to.
It was Martin. The show Martin, you had Gina and you had Pam. In my opinion, Pam was way better than Gina, but because Pam was dark skinned, she got the ish end of the stick, while Gina was, hey, because she light skinned and shit. It's like, we're looking at two people. That has nothing to do with
And
light skin,
this
dark
is the
skin.
crazy part. I met Gina in person. She has a horrible attitude. She's real rude and nasty.
We're
And,
looking
and guess what? And Pam, you see what I'm saying? So it's
down
like
to earth,
it's about the character of a person. It's not about
and that's
what complexion you are.
where the focus should be. The focus should be the person. Not because the outside appearances are that's one thing, but once you have a conversation with said person, what are you going to get out of that? I mean, I get that, she got a nice personality, but you still got to get to know that person. And,
Right.
You have a preference. Your preference is fine, but once you start denouncing one over the
Over
other,
the other. Mm-hmm.
that's where the problem comes. Keep
That's
your
what.
preference. Have your list, have your standard. If that's what you go for, then go for it. But don't do it just off the strength of you had a bad experience in the past from either a light skin or a dark skin. So now it's like you completely write them off. No. Black is black.
Kelly
That's,
Rowland she's beautiful. Kelly is exquisite. And the thing
I've
is
said it.
that
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Like Beyonce, she cool, but if there was a choice, Beyonce ain't getting picked.
and Beyonce not getting picked because she light skinned. She not getting picked because Kelly got the better voice. She has the better voice. It don't have nothing to do with one is dark and one is light. Kelly has a better voice. Her tone, her
Mhm.
pitch, everything. She just has a better voice. And like Matthew said, you see Beyonce and Beyonce feeds into the colorism too, whether you believe it or not. That's why she hasn't
Mhm.
changed that blonde hair. She will not get rid of that blonde hair because that's the aesthetic. That's the aesthetic. That's why we wear the weaves and we buy the bundles. When I went natural, I did some research in my own culture. There's no bundles in Africa. No bundles. Well, no sew-ins. Well, no glue-ins. They had extensions though. Clip-ins. They had clip-ins. They did not attach anything to their hair because they understood how things can enter in. But that's a
Mhm.
whole nother teaching. You know what I'm saying? No, embrace your natural hair. You gotta embrace yourself down to the bare bones. That's why when people cut their hair, it's so freeing. It's very freeing because you get to
Mhm.
see what you really look like. When I cut my hair, because I wear wigs and pieces and all of that, but when I cut my hair, I got to really see me. I'm like, man, I have not even seen myself. I got to
Mhm.
really see me. You get to see yourself down to the bare bones. And if you can't accept how you look naked with nothing, with no eyelashes, no hair on, no
But
wig,
bone it.
no nothing. You gotta be accept yourself then. Then when you put all that stuff on, then you'll be okay. So when you look in the mirror and you say that you are a beautiful woman, you got to believe it and you got to know it with your complexion, whatever grade of hair you have, you know what I'm saying? Which is the best
Mhm.
grade of hair. Because some people hair, you can't do nothing with it. But when you got that strong, so-called nappy hair, that's the best hair. It is, because you can wear it in any type of style. It holds curls and everything. I'm trying to get mine to be coily and coily kinky coily. I won't comb my hair for 3 days trying to get it to be kinky coily kinky. That's the best hair, the kinky coily so-called nappy hair. I'll take it.
If we got anybody watching
Give it to me.
right now, oh my God! If we got anybody watching right now that can give my mama some advice on how to get that, go on and drop a DM, a comment, or something. Kinky coily.
Yes.
Because apparently I
Embrace it. Embrace that strong, beautiful hair. Embrace it. There's so many products on the market for you not to know how to get that hair to do what you needed to do. You see what I'm saying? Beautiful, beautiful. Anyway, that's just me. I love my dark skinned sisters. I do. I always have. Always have. I love my dark skinned sisters. I love everything about them because I just think it's so exotic. What's that model? What's that model name? She's a model. I forgot her name, but she has like a really dark complexion, and it's just exquisite.
Or she's like really like, I don't want to say Grace Jones, but I know what you're talking about.
She is. I just think it's exquisite. I think it is so rich. Like when you're, it's like when you have a dark complexion, it's so rich. It's so, it's like looking at royalty. You know what I'm saying? So I see why melanin costs so much, because the more melanin you have in your skin, to me, the more royal you look, the more rich you look, the more exotic. It's a very unique look. It's very unique. It's very unique, and I don't think that darker complected sisters. I don't even think they see that. Because somebody have tried to make them feel like they're less than because they dark skinned.
You are not less than.
Stop it.
You are not less than. No.
I was so glad to go to Hawaii and get this little color I got. Got kissed by the sun. Give me some color. I love it. So close out, I say.
At $4.45 a gram, we gonna cherish the melatonin, the melatonin. We gonna cherish all of it. The kinky head, the not kinky head, whatever.
Now we can put that on the shirt. We can put that on the shirt. Cherish the melatonin. The melanin.
Melatonin.
Cherish the melanin. My girl said I'm flexing in my complexion. You dark skinned sisters, y'all better flex, honey. Put some cocoa butter and shine.
I'm gonna say this.
Stop it.
I wouldn't even take that with a grain of salt, because you generally insult the things that you either can't do or can't have.
Or can't have.
So keep that in mind the next time someone's talking about complexion, or you trying to put two bad women together. It's team light skin and team dark skin. How about team both?
It is team both. It ain't no how about it is team both.
Hey, we good.
Yeah, we good. See you guys next Sunday. Thank you guys for showing up and participating. And remember, you are beautiful.